You wake up and the feeling stays with you all day. Last night, in the dream, they were there. The grandmother who died 5 years ago, the father you never said goodbye to, the friend you haven't spoken to in a decade, the ex-partner you swore you were over. Maybe even an earlier version of yourself, the one who used to laugh more, the one who hasn't existed for a long time. The dream was so vivid. The conversation felt real. They looked at you the way they used to look at you. And in the dream, you weren't surprised they were there. It felt natural. It felt right. Then you opened your eyes and the room was quiet and the absence rushed back in. And you sat there with one strange, aching question that you can't quite shake. Was that just my brain, or was that something else? Most people do one of two things with these dreams. They dismiss them. It was just a dream. Or they over-romanticize them. It was a sign. Both interpretations miss what is actually happening. Because the truth is more interesting than either extreme and more meaningful than most people realize. Today we are going to decode why we dream about people we've lost. What is actually happening in the brain when the dead and the missing come back to visit us in the night? Why some of these dreams feel different from any other dream, and what your sleeping mind might be trying to do that your waking mind has not been able to finish. To understand this, we have to understand what dreams are actually for. For most of the 20th century, scientists could not agree. Some thought dreams were random noise. Some thought they were wish fulfillment. Some thought they were the brain's attempt to make sense of nothing in particular. We now know that none of those answers fully captured it. During the deepest dreaming stage of sleep, called REM, the brain is doing some of its most important work. It is sorting through the day. It is consolidating memories. It is moving experiences from short-term storage into long-term storage. And while it does this, a specific network in the brain becomes more active. Psychology calls it the default mode network, or DMN. This is the part of your brain that handles self-relevant information, who you are, what matters to you, who you love, who you've lost. The DMN doesn't deal in random faces. It deals in the faces that have shaped you. So when you dream about a person who has died, who has disappeared from your life, or who you have not seen in years, your brain is not pulling that face out of a hat. Your brain is pulling that face out of the architecture of you. They are not a random visitor. They are part of how your mind is built. So why specifically the people we have lost? Why does the brain seem almost obsessed with returning to them? In the 1990s, 3 researchers, Klaas, Silverman, and Nickman, published work that quietly changed our understanding of grief. They challenged the older model that said grieving was about letting go and eventually moving on. Their theory, which they called continuing bonds, suggested something different. We don't let go of the people we love. We renegotiate our relationship with them. The relationship continues, just in a new form. The brain, it turns out, agrees with this theory. Your nervous system does not have a clean delete button for someone you loved. Their voice, their face, their habits, their smell, the way they laughed at your jokes, all of it is woven into your neural architecture. They are part of your brain's furniture. So when the brain is doing its sorting work at night and it encounters all the threads that still connect you to them, it doesn't know how to file those threads under gone. Because in a very real biological sense, they are not gone. They are still inside you. The dreams are your brain's way of acknowledging that, of keeping the relationship alive in the only space where the relationship can still happen. So let's talk about the different kinds of dreams we have about the people we've lost, because they are not all the same. They serve different purposes, and learning to recognize the differences can change what you do with them. First, the processing dream. These tend to happen in the early months and years after a loss. They are often confusing, sometimes upsetting. You dream the person is still alive. You dream the death never happened. You dream that they are sick and you cannot save them. You dream that you are searching for them and cannot find them. These dreams can feel cruel because waking up means losing them all over again. But this is the brain doing real work. The processing dream is your nervous system trying to integrate something that is too big to integrate while you are awake. You can only carry so much grief during the day. The dream picks up the rest. If you are having these dreams, it does not mean you are stuck. It means your brain is doing exactly what brains do after a profound loss. It is metabolizing, slowly, night by night. Second, the visitation dream. This is the one most people remember for the rest of their lives. Researchers like Patrick McNamara at Boston University have studied these dreams specifically, and they have a distinct phenomenology. They feel different from regular dreams. The lost person appears, and they seem more present, more real, more themselves than the figures in any ordinary dream. They might say one specific thing. I'm okay. You can let me go. I'm proud of you. I forgive you. The dreamer wakes up changed. Whether you believe these dreams are literal visits from the other side, or whether you believe they are an extraordinary feat of the human mind, the psychological function is the same. The dreamer receives something they desperately needed and could not get any other way: reassurance, permission, closure. The science cannot fully explain why these dreams feel so different, but the experience itself is real, it is common, and it has been described in nearly every culture in human history. Something happens in those dreams that ordinary dreams cannot do. Third, the unfinished conversation. You dream the conversation that life never allowed you to have, the apology you never got, the goodbye you never said, the argument you wished had ended differently, the "I love you" that you swallowed because you didn't think you'd run out of time. In the dream, the conversation finally happens. Maybe it happens cleanly, maybe it happens messily. Sometimes you say what you needed to say, sometimes the other person says what you needed to hear. The brain is offering you something specific in these dreams, a second chance at a moment that life closed too quickly. Psychologists sometimes call this dream state emotional completion. Your unconscious mind, freed from the constraints of time and circumstance, is finishing what your waking life could not. And here's the strange part. The completion often works. People wake up from these dreams and report feeling lighter, even decades after the original loss. The conversation didn't happen in the world, but it happened somewhere, and the brain seems to accept that as enough. Fourth, the mirror dream. Sometimes the person who appears in the dream is not really the point. They are a symbol for something inside you. The grandmother who appears might be your own buried tenderness, returning because you have been too hard on yourself lately. The estranged sibling might be a quality of yourself you have not let yourself feel in years. The ex-partner might represent a version of you that you abandoned along the way. In these dreams, the lost person is the messenger, but the message is about you. Carl Jung wrote extensively about this. He believed that figures in dreams often carry pieces of the dreamer's own psyche, especially pieces that have been disowned or forgotten. So, when you dream about someone you've lost, it can be useful to ask not just, why are they here? But also, what part of me did they represent? And is that part trying to come back? Fifth, the reunion dream. This one is the gentlest and, paradoxically, often the most painful. There is no big conversation. There is no message. There is no climax. You simply find yourself doing something ordinary together. Sitting at the kitchen table while they make coffee. Walking through a grocery store. Driving in the car while they hum along to the radio. The dream is not about anything. It is just about being together again. Doing the kind of small, unremarkable thing you used to do without even realizing it was sacred. These dreams are sometimes called presence dreams in grief literature, because the entire content is presence. The brain is not trying to resolve anything. It is not delivering a message. It is simply recreating the texture of a daily life that has been gone for a long time. People often wake from these dreams in tears, even when nothing in the dream was sad, because what the dream reminded them of was not loss. It was ordinariness, the shared ordinariness that they didn't know they would miss most. Sixth, the anniversary dream. Your brain keeps a calendar your conscious mind has stopped tracking. Dreams of lost people often cluster around specific dates: birthdays, death anniversaries, the first holiday without them, the anniversary of the breakup. Even seasonal transitions like the smell of autumn in the year someone died can trigger a wave of these dreams. You may not be consciously thinking about the date. You may not have circled it on a calendar. But your body remembers. Your nervous system remembers. And when the date comes around, your dreaming mind sometimes brings the person forward, because that is how the body marks time. Grief is not linear. It comes in waves on certain dates for the rest of your life. And the dreams are part of how the body honors what the mind has tried to put away. Now we have to talk about what is hard about these dreams, because they are not always gentle. Sometimes the dream is so real, so warm, so close to having them back, that waking up feels like losing them again. The grief, which had finally quieted, comes flooding back in with full force. The bed feels emptier than it did the night before. The day ahead feels heavier. Some people start to dread these dreams, even as they secretly hope for them. There is a particular kind of pain that lives in the gap between the dream world, where someone you love still exists, and the morning, where they don't. Grief researchers have a name for the specific ache of waking from a dream that brought someone back. They call it the second loss. The first loss happened when the person actually left. The second loss happens every time the dream ends. And for some people, the second losses, accumulated over years, become almost harder to carry than the original. There is also the dream you didn't get to have. Some people wait, sometimes for years, for a dream that never comes. They desperately want to see their lost person one more time. They want to visit. They want a goodbye. And the dreaming mind, for reasons no one fully understands, doesn't deliver. This silence can feel like a second abandonment, like even your unconscious is refusing to reunite you. If this is your experience, here is something important to know. The absence of the dream is not the absence of the love. Some grief is too large for the dreaming mind to approach directly. It comes sideways instead, in feelings, in moments of recognition, in the way a stranger's laugh suddenly stops you in a coffee shop. The relationship is still continuing. The dreaming mind has just chosen a different door, and sometimes the same dream returns over and over, and it doesn't seem to be healing anything. You dream the same loss, the same accident, the same conversation, the same moment of helplessness, and you wake up shaking. This is different from the integration dreams. This is trauma trying to process itself and failing. If your dreams about a person you've lost feel like they are torturing you rather than visiting you, that is a sign that the loss is still asking for help. Not from the dead, from the living, from a therapist who knows grief, from a community that understands, from someone who can hold the weight while your brain finishes the work it cannot finish alone. So if these dreams are happening to you, what can you actually do with them? 3 principles can help. Principle 1. Don't dismiss them. Don't over-mystify them. The 2 most common mistakes are opposite extremes. The first is to say, it was just a dream, and shake it off. This dishonors what your brain is trying to do. The second is to interpret every dream as a literal supernatural visitation, which can keep you locked into hopes and patterns that do not serve your actual healing. The truth is in the middle. These dreams are meaningful. They are doing important psychological work. Whether or not anything else is happening alongside that work is something each person gets to decide for themselves. The point is to honor the experience as significant without needing it to be magical. Principle 2. Write the dream down within 10 minutes of waking. Dreams fade fast. Within 30 minutes, most of the details are gone. Within an hour, even the major emotional beats can blur. So, keep a small notebook by the bed. The moment you wake up from a dream about someone you've lost, write down what you remember. The setting, what they said, how they looked, how you felt, what stood out. Over time, patterns will start to emerge. You will notice which dreams feel like processing, which feel like visitation, which feel like unfinished business. Your unconscious is sending you mail. The least you can do is open it. Principle 3. Ask what the dream wanted, not just what it meant. Most people, when they have a meaningful dream, ask, "What does this mean?" That is a fine question, but there is a better one. What did the dream itself seem to be seeking? Was it asking for forgiveness? Offering it? Was it trying to say goodbye? Trying to keep something alive? Treating the dream as an entity with its own intelligence rather than a symbol to be decoded often reveals more than analysis does. Sit with the dream the way you would sit with a friend who came to tell you something important. Don't interrupt, let it speak. And here is where the meaning starts to shift. The dreams we have about the people we've lost are not a failure of grief. They are grief in its most sophisticated form. The people we love do not leave our nervous systems when they leave our lives. They become part of how our brains process the world. The way they laughed becomes part of how we recognize joy. The way they comforted us becomes part of how we comfort ourselves. Not as ghosts, as architecture. The dream is not a haunting. The dream is the brain's way of visiting the part of itself that was shaped by them, of keeping that part alive, of refusing, on a level deeper than conscious thought, to let the relationship be over just because the world says it should be. If you have ever woken from one of these dreams and sat in bed with that strange, aching feeling, that mixture of joy and loss and longing and warmth that has no name in everyday language, you are someone whose love was real enough that it built a permanent place in your brain. And that brain is doing what brains do with the people who matter most. It is keeping them close, in the only way it knows how. You are someone who has been visited in the night by someone you've lost, and you are not alone in that experience. There is a quiet community of people who carry the same kind of dreams. Share this video with the person in your life who is grieving right now, the friend who lost someone recently, the family member who has been quiet on a certain anniversary. They might be having these dreams too. They might need to know what is happening. And if you want to keep exploring the strange psychology of how the mind holds on to what the world has taken away, subscribe so we can keep walking this road together. Thank you for being here. See you in the next one.